You think you're frustrated. You think you've had enough. How do you think they feel? More evidence of that reveals itself in today's DLLS podcast. Yeah, the looks on those faces really do say a lot after last night's game in Anaheim. And the Rangers start this road trip losing 3 of 4 so far on this all-important 10-game trip. Hi there. Welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. John Radigan here, Jeff Wilson there. We've got the great Ryan Vaughters in here helping us out today, and we've got you already chatting. We appreciate that. There was a palpable sense of frustration in the clubhouse yesterday, Jeff. And again, it's not like we haven't noticed that before. You're in the clubhouse post-game a lot more than I am. But you see it. You sense it. We know it's there. Maybe it boiled over a little bit with Bochy last night.
Yeah. That was my thought. I'm obviously not in Anaheim, but Laura Stickles in her post-game interview. Laura, by the way, asks fantastic questions.
She really does.
She really does.
Yeah.
Anyway, you could tell he was not happy. He didn't want. You could tell he wanted the interview to end.
Yep.
And he was flustered, and can't blame him. You know, I mean, he's 70, came out of retirement. Yes, he won the World Series. That's awesome. But he doesn't want to go out like this if he's going out, which we'll discuss later. But and he feels for the players, and I think that while the manager tries to let the players feed off of him, sometimes you feel it, you feel what they're going through,
right?
And I think last night that was pretty telling.
Yeah, and so what happens, and I have been in Laura's role many times in my career. What happens there is we all gather around the manager. And the television interview, post-game interview, happens first. And then as soon as we finish the questions we're doing, so in this case last night, as soon as Laura finished hers, the manager generally sits down. They need to stand for the TV interview. Manager generally sits down at the desk in his office on the road, and the beat writers are already seated or in place to begin asking questions. And that happened last night too. And Bochy, as he was asked the first question, which he really didn't even let the reporter finish, he threw his cell phone and his hat down on the desk in frustration. Again, that's not like turning over the table, food or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we don't see that kind of an outburst, if you will, from Bochy. And this is what he said. The question was going to be, so what's the answer? And he said, there is no answer. I'm sorry. I'd like to give you an answer. And then he goes on to talk about how you keep fighting and, you try to work as hard as you can. You give them credit. They fought hard too. Some guys have been pitching a lot out there. That's a reference to Hobie Milner. But you got to execute and do the little things in games like this. A couple of times in that game and multiple times in these close games throughout the season, Jeff, they haven't. And obviously, that is where the frustration just kind of boils over. I mean, again, you put Hobie Milner in there, and of course, you can second guess the idea of having Chris Martin go back out for a second inning.
Right.
But Chris Martin said, I'm good, Skip. I'm ready to go. And, you trust the player. He hadn't pitched a second inning in a game since April the 30th. Right. I mean, and and at that time, soon after that, I think we heard the pop or the pops. And so, it was just one of those things that didn't seem like a great idea for a guy who's 39 years old. But you listen to the player. Maybe that backfired as the inning, started with a double and a single. They walk the bases loaded, bring in Hobie Milner. Makes sense. It's a good matchup.
Yeah.
Hobie Milner's been great. A week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, Boch said unsolicited, Hobie Milner should be an all-star. That's how this guy has pitched. But guess what? Everybody has a day, a batter, a shot on the golf course, a report you turn in at work. Everybody has a day where maybe it's not their absolute best, and it wasn't for Hobie. He admitted it. Stood at his locker room, talked about it afterwards, and it was the 13th walk-off walk in team history.
Yeah, and all right, if you want to get nitpicky, do you let Martin face a right-handed batter, Zach Neto, who'd had a couple hits and was fast, and you probably weren't going to, maybe not double him up,
right?
Or do you intentionally walk, loading the bases, reducing the margin of error,
which is what
for
they
the hitter?
Did. Yeah,
that's what they did, and Milner got ahead in the count, and then Schoenwell had a really good at bat.
He did. Was that a 9-pitch at bat? I think
I don't know. It was long, and the 3-2 pitch just missed, and Hobie can't just throw one down the middle.
No,
he doesn't have the power stuff to get away with one of those. And but anyway, so you want to second guess the decision, but and the Martin thing, did you want to in that spot, do you want to use your closer there? Do you want Robert Garcia to pitch it? Do you want to give Milner a clean inning? I'm not really sure, but the fact of the matter is that it just isn't happening.
Right.
It doesn't matter really what in tight games, the Rangers, for whatever reason, don't get the job done.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the year, it was the opposite, because during that 8-2 start, they were winning close games and everything was kind of hunky dory, and then reality set in and the offense didn't get any better. Pitching's been great, and they have lost a lot of close games, and they've had games where they haven't scored. What they've had 25 games where they've scored 2 or fewer runs.
Right.
It's aggravating that they aren't winning the games, and a lot of that's to blame on the offense. Now, they scored 5 runs last night.
Yeah.
Jacob deGrom wasn't great.
Right.
But he left with the lead, and then the bullpen gave it up. And, Armstrong's been really good. He had an ERA under 1 on the road before last night. And so you just kind of are like, cursed. It's like a curse.
It really feels like it. It's like snake bit.
And, you just, like Josh Smith said not that long ago, good teams find a way to win these games.
Yes.
And whatever his implication was, that's fine. But the Rangers right now aren't good enough.
No, they're not good enough to win these games, and that is frustrating. And, the frustration shows itself. A manager shows his frustration in various ways. We don't often see that frustration, and oftentimes it is just the players who do. And we're not going to know. Nobody has shared with us anyway if he's expressed that. Back in the day, of course, the manager kind of alluded to this at the start. Manager would go in the clubhouse and flip over the food table and, let everybody know how angry he was. That's not going to work in this day and age, because there's not just like a food table, right? There's a chef in the back who's in there making, salmon almondine tacos and a kale and cauliflower salad, and everybody wants to get a broccoli smoothie with Brussels sprout garnishment on it. Like, these guys eat so healthy. Sometimes I'm like, just eat a damn burger.
Burgers,
Eat a burger and fries and see if maybe that helps you win and get away from the kale and cauliflower salad. But there's no food table tipping, I don't think, anymore among any manager. We did ask Bochy about it months ago, I think, when there was another frustration like this, and he said no, but he remembered a couple of his managers doing it, and in those days, I think he might have been in the minor leagues. Like, he had no money. He's like, dang, there goes my dinner. I don't.
He said that he one time took a bat to a TV.
Yeah, that's right.
When he was with the Giants, and he felt terrible about it. So he just doesn't do that. That's just not his nature. But and I don't know. Yeah, you see it a lot in old times, and you see it in movies and stuff. Does that really get the guys going?
No.
If you want to get them going, you hurt their pocketbook.
Right.
Maybe you start fining them if they don't, produce with less than 2 outs. Don't make a productive out. All right, well, we're going to fine you. Of course, the fines have to be monumental. It's
right.
Like,
yeah.
like a $500 fine. Yeah. It's like, oh, all right.
I got that in my pocket.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, throw it at the desk.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, but these guys just, again, if the manager's feeling it, then the players are definitely feeling it, and we keep saying it's time to go. It's past time to go, and
way past.
And there's still a lot of season left, and I was thinking about the A's and their 20-game winning streak with Walsh was the third base coach, and things like that happen. But my God, that's desperate. That's kind of where they're at now. They need to rattle off. They need to win 9 of 10, or
they need a Tigers at the end of the season last year where
they really
went 30-7 or something like that at the end.
But look, they have to finish this road trip strong. Right. They've got 6 games to go.
Yeah. And they really have to go 4-2.
You would think.
And that's only to make 500 on the trip. And 500 on the trip isn't great,
Yeah.
You end up basically where you were when you started, which is 1 game under 500.
Yeah, and again, the last time we spoke to Chris Young about this and the trade deadline, it's kind of like, what's the cutoff point? This, that, and the other, and he goes, well, as long as I don't really look at the record, I look at how they're playing. All right, I mean the Rangers haven't gotten blown out here. I guess the last game in Pittsburgh and the first game in Baltimore.
Yeah.
All right. Well, they've played several games since then, 2, 8, 12 games since then, and they haven't gotten just demolished. They've gone to extra innings, and they lost by 4 runs in extra innings, but you're in extra innings. So they're playing okay. It's just not good enough.
Right. They're playing well enough to win. They're just not winning.
They're just not winning.
Yeah, which is a great way to say it. The frustrating part. Because, and again, not only that, what adds to the frustration, I was telling my wife this last night. She doesn't watch the games with me very often, but she was last night. And I said, what's really frustrating is all these guys did it before, essentially all of them, right? The core of these guys did it before, and so the fact that they're not is not only frustrating to the manager, but it's frustrating to them too. They're like, it's in there. I just somehow can't get it out of here right now. And the other thing, so she's watching with me last night, and I tell her, okay, so once deGrom gets out there, I said, all right, watch this guy. I said, you see that box right there by the batter? Watch how almost every pitch he throws is right on one of those lines. And I will say, the pitch that Neto hit to lead off the game, it was 100 miles an hour, and it was right on the line. I go, see? I said, now, these guys, the hitters are good too. I go, but it's right on. Then they showed a replay, and it's right on the line. And then whoever second guy is comes up, and he starts yanking, and he talked about it afterward. He just starts missing with that slider.
Yeah.
She goes, that's nowhere near the line. There's another one that's in the dirt. That's really far from the line. I go, he usually hits the line. It's Jacob deGrom. But he made me look bad. He got better as the game went on. His first 3 innings weren't great, and you say they weren't great. He allowed 3 runs, and they left with the lead. But you needed him to go more than 5, which he couldn't because he's at 95 pitches. You just can't push him much further than that at this point in his season. When we know, it's the season after Tommy John.
Yeah, that was ultimately that was a huge factor in the game. If they get just one more inning out of him, and he just wasn't able to do it because he had like a 35 pitch inning, and there was talk on the broadcast, and that was the very first question from Rarities about pitch tipping, and Laura apparently did ask Jacob deGrom about it, and he said, no, I was just pulling all of my pitches. I thought, and this is again a very amateur opinion, I thought his sliders were more curvy than they were sliders. The last pitch he threw was like the Jacob deGrom badass slider. Wipeout, can't tell the difference between a fastball slider. And I thought a lot of his sliders were curvy, and maybe the Angels were like, well, if we see curveball, we're going to take it. I don't know. But Mike Bassick, I texted him during the game, and he said, I definitely think he was tipping. And he said as much after the game.
Yeah. Now I will say this. deGrom said after the game, he said, these pitches were a ball leaving my hand, right? They were never going to be a strike, and you can't fool major league hitters when it's a ball leaving your hand. He just couldn't find the right tunnel. I don't know that that's necessarily true, but I know that he said that. So
yeah, I think he was being a little nice, a little hard on himself, because there were some pitches that ordinarily guys would swing and miss, and they just stood there.
Yeah.
Like they knew a slider was coming.
Yeah, they got deep in a lot of counts. The Angels did, so they were patient and played well against him, and that's one of the reasons he was at 95 after 5. All right, we got more coming up because we'll continue to talk about this. There are lots of comments in there that we'll comment on. We'll also talk about Bruce Bochy. Does the frustration that we saw last night begin to boil over and make him say, I can't take this anymore? We talk about that next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast, and I want to warn you, if I may. I want to warn you about chafing.
Oh, God.
This is the time of year for chafing. So my recent sort of cardiovascular workout of choice is rucking, where you put a heavy backpack on your back.
Oh, yeah.
And you walk around. And I've got lots of property out there and some hills. And so I ruck, right? And I chafe.
Oh, God dang it.
Yeah, that's the worst. And it's, you know where the chafing occurs? It occurs down there in your groin area, around your ball sack and your grundle.
That's right.
And there is nothing fun about chafing in that region.
Chafe taint is awful.
Oh, yeah. It's the worst.
Yeah, just terrible.
So you grab one of the creams from the Mando kit. Not only does it completely eliminate and maintain the chafing, it smells good. So there you go. That's just another reason to avail yourself to Mando. $5 off the starter pack with the code DLLS. You get all those great products, and you eliminate chafing. Okay. Now, I had to do the first two. Jeff's going to do the second two because these were my two guys. This is my Shady Rays. I don't know if Ryan's seen these yet, but Ryan, if I walked up to you with these Shady Rays on, would you be afraid I was going to arrest you? Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the thing. Ryan knows me. He knows I wouldn't arrest him. But they do kind of look like the cop shades. But you know what they are? They're almost indestructible. They're great. If I lose them, Shady Rays is going to replace them. And if I break them, which I will, Shady Rays is going to fix them. So I can't say enough how much I love these sunglasses. I'm about to order another pair. 35% off polarized sunglasses with thousands of different styles. Maybe not thousands, but for sure hundreds when you mix the color combination.
Colors and everything. Sure.
Yeah. Probably hundreds of different styles. 35% off. Use the code DLLS. Okay. Bruce Bochy.
Bruce Bochy.
We talked about the frustration he demonstrated. Again, he's been a manager a long time, and he knows every move he makes is scrutinized. Every move he makes on the bench is second guessed, right? And every move he makes in front of the media and with us and everything is scrutinized. A couple of the reporters who were there covering the game, Kennedy Landry and Sean McFarland, mentioned in the high up in their stories that, he threw his cell phone and his hat onto the desk, and it's uncharacteristic, which is one of the reasons it was reported. And so it just kind of begs the question, at what point for a 70-year-old man whose contract is expiring, at what point does he say, you know what, I've had enough. I didn't come back for frustration. Now, that said, he's super competitive and he loves the lifestyle. And somebody in the chat earlier said, yeah, maybe, Boch is frustrated because CY's put him on notice. No. He is not on notice. He can be the manager of this team as long as CY is the president of baseball operations. Bruce Bochy can be the manager for that long.
He said that.
Yeah. I mean, he came right out and
wants
said
to
it.
do.
And Boch knows that's true. And so anyway, but it begs the question because, again, it's his choice now. And will he choose to say, I don't know, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay, so he's 70. He came back. He won his World Series. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He was going to go to the Hall of Fame before the fourth World Series. He has grandkids. They're not getting any younger. He sure as hell isn't getting any younger.
No.
He has a lot of interests and things that he likes to do, fishing.
Yeah,
primarily
big fisherman. Likes to golf.
Yeah, he doesn't do it a lot because I think it's hard for him physically. But the Rangers had a tough one last week, probably after the Monday loss. And he said, "Well, there's a reason. There's a reason bourbon was invented. And so I think he understands the frustration and I'm not saying he's on the verge of being an alcoholic, but
no,
my God, this team is frustrating.
It can drive you to drink.
Yeah, I'm a pretty unbiased guy, and like we've done this long enough. Yeah. One game rolls into the next, and we know how to handle losing. And but that one frustrated me last night, and I had trouble getting to sleep. I really did.
Yeah.
And if it's getting to me, I know it's getting to these fans, and he does keep saying this team's going to come around, and he believes that because he's been doing this far longer than we have. He's been in professional baseball pretty much since I was right after I was born, and that's a long damn time, and he's seen it all. And again, there are the examples and all of these things, but I think the thing that's probably most aggravating is that the fixes the Rangers thought they had made in the offseason have not come to fruition. Jock Peterson has been hurt, obviously, and he was a disaster before that. Jake Berger has been okay on the road trip, but he's not anywhere near the 30 homers they thought he was.
No, he was 5 for 10 in San Diego, which was pretty good.
And then you get Josh Young's in AAA right now.
Yeah,
a guy that you thought you missed badly last year because of the injury, and then all of a sudden, he can't hit. And he's in his head. And so now he's in AAA, and they've been rained out. So he hasn't played a game yet.
Right. He finally played tonight, we hope.
So I get the aggravation. And it's more of the same from, you could say, Heim and Adolis Garcia. And then you get this wonderful pitching that people were not expecting.
No.
And you're pissing it away. So I can understand the frustration. Now, would Bruce Bochy want to go out like this? Does he want to go out with a team that was mediocre? If you want to be perfectly honest about Bruce Bochy, his career record's below 500. He has more than 2,100 wins, but he's got like 2,200 losses. And some of that is out of his control entirely. But I can't imagine that he would want to finish with a team that doesn't at least go to the playoffs. He'd want to go out on a high note, and sure, he's had a lot of highs, but what's that? The last taste in your mouth. You want it to be that.
Yeah.
You want to give it one more try because he does enjoy it. I mean, there's no question.
Oh, there's no doubt. And he really enjoys the lifestyle.
Yeah. And last night, I think the decisions he had to make. He's in a no-win situation. I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, they were high-risk decisions. Bringing Martin back, walk him. Maybe Martin was tired, so you give your trusty lefty no margin for error, and it just didn't work out. So the bullpen is worn down. I mean, Jack Leiter the other night not getting out of the fourth didn't help.
No,
and then Jacob, you're like, well, at least he'll get a 6. Well, he didn't. he really struggled to get you 5.
Yeah.
And so and now the hope is Evaldi. Evaldi needs to go out and do they let him have a longer leash than they were originally planned?
And that's the scary part. It's only his 3rd start since coming back from I guess elbow strain, we called it.
Elbow. Well, it was shoulder fatigue,
okay, shoulder.
I think, or triceps.
That's right.
That's what
triceps.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it's own, but he's that guy too, right? And and look, Jacob said it after the game last night too. He said, "Man, I knew they needed more, right? Because I knew the bullpen had been taxed.
Yeah.
But that was really all he could give. And hopefully, we know Nathan Evaldi well enough to know he'll go out to the mound with that attitude. Now, whether or not, some days you have it and some days you don't. Most days Jacob deGrom does. Most days Nathan Evaldi does.
Right.
But who knows what this night, in our case, will bring. So, yeah, that is a problem because if they need, if he can only go 4 or even 5, man, they're taxed.
Yeah.
In fact, do they need to make a move?
Well, they still have Dunning. So
yeah.
Dunning can, give you some length if if that is what it comes down to. They could make a move, I would assume, with Dunning because Latz pitched a lot.
Yeah.
Sunday night. I guess right now you're looking at Luke Jackson and Garcia. They didn't work last night. Dunning didn't work last night. So those are your 3 guys, I would think. I mean, I guess Armstrong. I can't. Did he pitch Sunday though?
He did.
So yeah, you're kind of like, yeah. But who are you going to go get? It's like,
yeah,
and it's just a fresh arm. That's all it is. But right now, one of the fresh arms is available.
Right.
It would or one of the fresh arms that is available is one of the guys you'd option. So you're not going to win anything there.
No,
unless you just say, all right, Jake Latz, you do not deserve this at all, but we don't have a choice.
Right. And they could do that to Dunning too.
But Dunning's available. I'm saying Dunning's a fresh arm.
Oh, I see.
And you need him tonight. So it's
right. Yeah. I mean, and those are the tough decisions. And again, it's not like there's any breaks. I mean, they don't have an off day, do they? No. They're playing right through till the All-Star game. So,
and then Thursday night they got to fly
to Houston.
They're not going to land in Houston until about 5 a.m. It's a mess right now.
Yeah, it really is, and hopefully.
And only like 3 days ago, we're like, hey, this is pretty good.
Yeah, we're turning it around. They're coming. They're won 6 out of 8 series. This, that, and the other. And again, obviously, they could still win this series. They have to win 3 in a row though to do it. It's a 4-game series, so to win it, you've got to win 3, and they've got to win 3 in a row. You like your chances with Nathan Evaldi going out there tonight, but man, it's just. And again, I just feel like I don't know what is it. We talked about the psychology of a team not long ago, Jeff, and like, is it just almost in their heads? Like, we don't win these games. Josh Smith mentioned it the other day. You got to win. Find out a way to win those, not lose them. And we're not winning them. Good teams win them. We're not winning them. And so I don't know. Is that in their head? We asked it that day. Is it in their head that they can't win those? I mean, obviously they've won a few.
Right.
Man.
It's just it's I mean, so now their bullpen's depleted, their offense still doesn't score. Their guy goes out last night and they don't win the game. And now, are they battling themselves?
Right.
And
And I will say this too. You brought up Berger earlier. When he scored from first, first of all, he reached first.
Yeah.
On a pass ball,
wild
third
pitch,
strike.
Yeah.
And then he scored without a throw. I was multi impressed. I mean, when I see the hit, I'm like, well, he's gonna be at third, and he didn't even hesitate. Good call, good send by Tony Beasley, and then it was easy. So, and again, that's one of those moments in a game. I mean, I know that I'm sitting there watching, fired up now, right?
Yeah.
And you feel like, I'm sure they were, you feel like, yeah, the bench is fired up now. Okay, we did it, right? And I don't know. It just doesn't seem to carry over. And so that's one of the reasons, too, for the frustration. It's like that's the kind of play you come back when you haven't been great at that. You tie the game, and then you can't figure out a way to win it. So anyway, we've got more coming up as we continue with the DLLS Rangers podcast. Up next, minor leaguers are making their way up the chain, not to the majors, at least not yet, but we'll talk about some of the best next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast.
First, though, we got to talk about the OG, our original sponsor, Empire Today.
Love those boys.
We talk floors all the time, and really, pretty much everywhere you walk indoors is a floor, right? I mean, you don't have grass in your house, so
nope.
Floors are everywhere. They're in constant need of being upgraded. And really, if you want to upgrade your house, a great way to do it is with some new flooring. And Empire Today is going to help you out. They're going to give you the home field advantage because they're going to come to your house. You call, schedule a free in-home estimate. They'll come in. They'll help you match the colors and tell you what looks best and go through various samples, all the great stuff that the specialists in Empire Today do. And then, you know what? They can come in the next day in some cases. So give them a call. Give them a jingle. Go online to empiretoday.com/DLS. You'll get $350 off your new floors. And then another OG is Rugged Road.
Yeah.
This is like the day of OGs because Shady Rays was an OG.
Yeah.
Mando's
That's
only
right.
the only new one, but Rugged Road, they're wonderful coolers, lightweight, durable, floatable because it is river floating season, I understand, but it's also pool season. It's picnic season. Summer baseball is winding down if your seasons aren't over already. We got one more to go. And you got to have that thing packed with ice and cold towels and everything, drinks. And Rugged Road will have you ahead of the game because they are lightweight and because they are durable. And they'll keep your stuff cold up to 7 days. How about that?
Yeah,
pretty amazing. So here's what you do. You go to ruggedroadoutdoors.com. You enter the code DLS, you get 10% off. RuggedRoadOutdoors.com, code DLS for 10% off.
Fantastic. So yeah, was this the Baseball America list that came out?
They've kind of updated all here recently, but Baseball America came out yesterday. MLB Pipeline did theirs recently, and then Fangraphs did theirs last month. But yeah, the freshest one is from the wonderful people at Baseball America who pay me 9 times a month to do the weekly, the occasional Rangers update. I think I'm going to go. I can't remember which one I did last week or last time. I hope it's not Cody Freeman because I want to do Cody Freeman. Uncle Ted, BA is the worst. Come on, man. They're helping keep me employed. Boo to you, Uncle Ted. All right. So let's go.
Yeah, so we got, obviously, everybody knows the top of the heap is Sebastian Walcott, and he continues to climb. He's obviously number one in the Rangers organization, but he will have a chance to perhaps be the new Jurickson Profar, right?
Yeah.
Where he's number one overall.
Yeah. He's getting there, and thank you, Uncle Ted, for correcting yourself. These things are all. It's mostly the same guys at the top, and Roman Anthony right now with the Red Sox seems to be the guy who's everybody's favorite. Chase Burns, who's come on really strong, the great pitcher from. Where do you go? Wake Forest throws the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Leo DeVries from the Padres. He's another guy. So they're all kind of the same group. And, you get the guys who run out of rookie eligibility. That's kind of that's the standard bearer right there.
Right. That's the one that takes them off the prospect.
They say, oh, you graduated. So Jack Leiter has graduated. He's no longer a prospect. I think Rocker's real close. But anyway, Sebastian Walcott is wildly talented. He's still only 19. He's really gotten the best thing he's done this year is cutting down on the strikeouts and increasing his walks. It's fantastic what he's done. Still probably strikes out too much, but again, this is a guy who's 19 and didn't play against like the best of the best when he was coming up as a kid in the Bahamas. It wasn't like he was in the Dominican playing against other international kids or Latin kids who are going to get
or even Venezuela.
Get signed and become major leaguers. They don't have a lot of great baseball in the Bahamas. He would come to Florida and play some select ball, but even then, at that age, is he really facing the best ones? So anyway, he could be very well could be the number one guy, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. Good instincts. It's just looking like it's going to happen.
Like maybe as soon as next year.
Yeah, later this year.
This year maybe.
I mean, Burns.
As these guys graduate,
Burns is in the majors. DeVries is younger or is in high A, I think. But yeah, it could definitely happen. And if he has a little power surge, he hasn't homered for a while. If he has a little surge here, you never know. But and if he gets on the cusp of being in the majors, I think that would help him too.
Yeah.
But really, if you want to look a little further at the BA list, with the Rangers specifically, their top 30, Rosario and Santos 2 and 3. Well, they're both hurt.
They're hurt. Yeah.
More for Yelfran Castillo 5, the young shortstop from I think Venezuela. He's kind of struggling in Arizona. Dylan Dreiling, who's the second-round pick last year, he's struggling at Hub City. Then Cole Drake, Uncle Ted's guy. Cole Drake up to 7, Osuna 8, David Davalillo 9, which is a mammoth jump.
It is. He's Venezuelan, right? I'm pretty sure he's from Venezuela.
Yeah, but his dad was a minor league coach with the Mets, I believe.
Okay.
But Davalillo pitched well last night for Frisco. He came up, made a start, and then they skipped a turn because there was some fatigue, and not uncommon when a guy moves up, spends a week in the Texas heat, and maybe loses a little weight, and they don't want him going out there not at full strength. So he did well. He doesn't have like huge stuff though, and that's always the thing on these prospect lists is they look at the massive stuff over pitchability. And Davalillo can pitch. That's not to say he doesn't have a nice slider or if he has good command, all that stuff. But I think if his fastball sat 96 instead of 91 to 93, he'd be a lot higher on these lists. Teodo 10. Teodo's been dealing with injuries and has had just kind of a crummy year after a wonderful spring.
Yeah, it's just been kind of a quiet year. Here's a guy we talked about in spring. Maybe he needs to break camp. With the big club, right? And it's just been a quiet year for Teodo.
Number 14 is an interesting one. David Hageman. Keep an eye on him. He was the 5th round pick last year from West Virginia. They drafted him after he'd had Tommy John surgery, so they knew what they were getting into. He's back now. He's at Hickory pitching, and it's big. This is stuff. This is big power stuff, and he is a college guy. Don't know how fast he can move because he's in his first year back from TJ, but watch out for that guy. He could be a top 10 guy by the end of the year, I really think.
And what about, did you mention Bratt?
Well, Bratt, he didn't have a great June, but he had a real nice start the other night, his first in July, and he's probably the next guy to get promoted, I would think, from Frisco to Round Rock. Throws premium strike thrower is what the Rangers have always called him, and he knows how to pitch. He uses his changeup and curveball, kind of pitches backwards, uses his fastball up, elevates it. He's always going to be around the plate. And we remember Mitch from 2023 when, as a 19-year-old, Team Canada sends him out to face the U.S. team. Didn't go well. He didn't get out of the first. You could tell he got emotional on the mound. I actually talked to him the very next day, and he was wonderful to talk about it. And even the last time he was on the weekly show here with me and John Moore, not that long ago, talked about it again and how much it's helped him. So I think when he gets on the big stage next time, and I think he will be in the next World Baseball Classic with Canada, a little more experienced. They've already talked about him coming back and being on the team. Can't do anything but help. But this is a guy who we really like personally, and who's not a bad pitcher.
Yeah, and it's one of those eye-opening moments for a kid, isn't it? Where, oh wow, right? These guys are really good. Like he'd been really good. He'd been among the best, especially in Canada. Right, everywhere he'd been, and then all of a sudden you face major league hitters.
I mean, not just major league hitters; it's a damn all-star team.
Yeah,
it's Bobby Witt Jr. was on the bench. That's how good the team was.
Yeah.
So we like him though.
Yeah, very much so. And then what about Caden Scarborough?
He was the big story in spring training. I think he was the 6th round pick in 24. Out of high school in Florida. He's long and lanky, and he throws hard. They're talking about the vertical and horizontal and all this stuff. And he's just been okay. He is young, so again, if you're going to give Walcott grace, you give Caden Scarborough some grace. He's down there in Hickory. His ERA is between 4 and 5, and he's got a chance to be good. He's still growing and developing, so. There's a chance that he learns how to doesn't learn, that he just throws harder based on his body's development. But he's a guy whose name you're going to hear for the next few years. But you don't want to get too far ahead of it. I think the Rangers got a little too far ahead of things with Brock Porter, who was kind of in that draft situation where they drafted Rocker and saved a ton of money on slot, and then Porter fell from. A lot of people found to be a top 10 pick. He fell to the 4th round. The Rangers got him for extra money. They made some mechanical changes they didn't take. So last year he basically spent the whole summer in Arizona learning how to pitch again, and now he's a reliever by choice as he's trying to get a feel for the mound again. And right now they're not going to mess with it. I think ultimately they give the starting thing a try again because it's a fabulous changeup. It was up to 100 in high school in Michigan, and as he develops, and he was a little bit older. He was an older high school kid, an older draftee, but they're not worried about that. They got him to a point where he's now throwing more strikes and throwing a little harder, and things keep going the right way. But I think that this year he'll just be, a reliever, and then kind of revisit things in the offseason.
Yeah, and one of my nephews faced him in high school, and of course, they were both at smaller private schools,
right?
But again, 100's 100,
right?
And so it doesn't matter. You're found if you're at a small private school, but he was, for these other small private and my nephew's team had several former Detroit Tigers players' kids on it, so. There was some baseball talent there, and Porter was absolutely unhittable. I don't think he no-hit them, but he shut them out, and it was just crazy. But it maybe is another cautionary tale, and I love to see our chatting with each other about the draft as well, which we haven't gotten into as much today. We talked a little.
Mista, nobody's saying Walcott is happening this year. Is somebody in the chat saying that?
Well, no, I think Mista misunderstood. That we were saying he could be the number 1 overall prospect this year, but we don't believe he's coming. We still think you're crazy, like we did in May. But anyway, but no, I love to see you guys chatting about the draft, and maybe Porter's a cautionary tale to just stick with what has been working, which is college guys, right?
Yeah,
he's one of the few high school guys they've drafted in the last few drafts.
Yeah, well. He wasn't a first-round pick.
Right.
First-round picks, the Rangers really seem dead set on the college guys. This year's draft, though, it's really heavy in high school shortstops. That's kind of where Ross Fenstermaker said it. Kip Fagg kind of indicated that, and the Rangers are kind of at a spot where what are you going to be getting at 12 from a college guy? They're going to be obviously a more mature hitter. There's the catcher from Auburn who's been talked about, and Uncle Ted likes Jake Lavalette from A&M. There's the Oklahoma pitcher, and there's less risk there, but there's risk with every player. The high school guys, they're just going to take a long time, but you have seen the Rangers take a lot of prep guys later. Like let's go back to 2020. It's only 5 rounds, right? So they take Justin Foscue. Well, the next 4 picks were high school guys: Evan Carter, T.K. Roby, Dylan McClain, and Tommy Sajaci. So they did well.
Yeah, 2 of whom for sure are
they did well, and but I think that they've been pretty consistent here. Really, the last first rounder was Cole Winn in 2018, who was a prep player.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go. They've kind of changed their focus a little bit, at least in the first round, but we'll see. They're going to do their due diligence and figure out who's the best for them to take at that 12th spot this year. It's coming up this Sunday is the Major League Baseball draft. So we'll keep you updated on that. We'll be talking about it and the pick a lot. In the meantime, we get to our cleanup segment. That's coming next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And we want to remind you to become a diehard. It's the best thing you can do for yourself, for your sports fandom, because we have so much content that is behind the paywall. And everybody does, by the way. Anybody who is out there writing and giving you good content is asking you to pay for it. And our fee is low, relatively speaking, compared to most of the others who want to charge you for this. We're significantly lower. We encourage you, if you're not already, to become a diehard. It's just $79.99. We will have periodic sales, but we don't know when the next one will be. So I'd encourage you to, especially, if you are a Cowboys fan, that season's coming up too. And our guys are going to training camp, and Clarence will be all over this thing. So we definitely think you should become a diehard to get all the content that they'll be printing there. Our Mavs crew's fixing to head to the Vegas, the summer camp in Vegas, where Cooper Flagg is making his debut. So anyway, we have so much stuff there. Plus, as a diehard, 20% off of any of the events that we do, like that Cowboys trip that's coming up in November to Las Vegas. Jeff and I are really dead set on, at some point, doing a Rangers trip to spring training. If we do those types of trips, you get 20% off, or 20% off the merchandise that we sell at store.allcitynetwork.com, Jeff. And not only 20% off, you get one free.
You get one free when you sign up. And John is wearing the Texas Diehard. Ryan and I are wearing matching DLS Black Skyline shirts. I also have on one of the sweatshirts. This is the black camo, which attracts my wife's hair. But anyway, it's a little chilly here. Yes, I'm wearing shorts, which you can't get at store.allcitynetwork.com, but you can get sweatshirts and shirts, and we encourage you to do so.
All right. So how about these Blue Jays? And you talked about the 20-game win streak. In this day and age, I don't know that we've seen a lot more than a 9-game streak yet this year.
The Twins early on reached 12 or 13.
Did they get that high?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, but I mean, a 9-game streak for the Blue Jays, a team that we all wondered at the beginning of the year. They kept having these misses, right? They didn't get, they were in on Soto, or they thought they were. I think the year before they were in on Ohtani, or they thought they were.
Yeah.
And then they were in really, I think they really believed, not that this is a huge loss to what they've accomplished, but they really believed they were in on Sasaki this year, right? So they're shooting their bullets, and in the meantime, all that time, they weren't signing their own. Now they did, and maybe that gave the whole group, which is built around Vlad Guerrero Jr., right? Maybe it gave the whole group a peace and a settled feeling. But I'm telling you, they've been playing great of late.
Yeah, and their manager, the players love him.
Yeah,
and like the media loves him. He's like just this good guy. And he has the look with the beard and the mustache that is really popular right now in Major League Baseball. Every time, I think every coaching staff except the Rangers has a guy that looks just like John Snyder. It's ridiculous. But anyway, and Blue Jays fans are very, very passionate when their team is good. In 15 and 16, we experienced that.
We did.
They're nasty online. They can be. I remember they just, were calling like Texans fat, and you're the reason for, George Bush came from Texas, and all these ridiculous things. They're just so nasty. But anyway, and it's added a lot of intrigue. It's not the Yankees. The Blue Jays exposed some Yankee problems. And, they did add in the offseason, the Anthony Santander, the switch hitter. And, the Dalton Varsho guy is amazing. Just such a great defensive player, a former catcher. And now he's like one of the best outfielders in the game. And of course, as you said, Vlad is just frightening when he's at the plate.
Yeah, he really is. And it's one of those situations with him, too, where he really did want to stay there. Mm-hmm. And so it would have been, tragic for, I think, that team, that city, that franchise, if somehow they had, they had let that slip away. But they didn't. They got him signed up early in the season, which, again, once you start the season, it's not necessarily something you see happen that often. But they met his needs and his demands, and they got that done, and it's now paying off. I thought it was pretty telling when they swept the Yankees this weekend to vault into first place. Just again, speaking of frustration, did you see the Aaron Boone comments?
I did not.
After one of those, it was big time frustration, and he expressed it about his own team and just about how they were playing and things like that. So I thought that was pretty telling about how the Yankees are feeling like, holy crap, this is a really good team. That American League East is obviously really good, but the Yankees are good, and theoretically on paper, I still think the Yankees probably have a better team.
Yeah, but they have some pitching issues with injuries. Clark Schmidt went down to Tommy John surgery, and of course they don't have Garrett Cole and won't for a while, and their closers on the injured list, and so they do have some issues, and they're always going to hit. But Anthony Volpe's been kind of a disappointment. Jazz Chisholm's come back and played well, but now they're moving him to second base. So, they're searching. But the trade deadline's coming, and the Yankees always seem to do something, and they have the wherewithal to do it financially. So, expect them to be in a lot of the conversations for the big guys. But they really need pitching. Yeah,
they do. They absolutely do. And we'll see what happens in that American League East. But it's juicy. I like that. I like when you see Aaron Boone lose his ass like that. That's kind of fun. No, how about, have you heard? And I don't know what ballot he's on, Jeff. But have you heard of Adam Crognale?
Nope.
Adam Crognale is the ball boy for the Philadelphia Phillies at their home ballpark.
All right.
And this kid, and again, we can't show it because it's all from Major League broadcasts.
Oh.
Look up Adam Crognale. Okay. This kid will go up when there's a bouncing ball coming right at the dugout. And look, we've been there when that's happening. And like most people, sane people, just duck behind the net or get the hell out of the way. And Adam Crognale jumps up and catches the ball with bare hands. He's backhanding stuff barehanded over there by the batter's box. He's a really good fielder, and he's not one wearing a glove. He's a bat boy, right? The people down the field, and oftentimes that's gals, but ball girls, or it could be if there's a ball boy down there, they have gloves, not Adam. So the Phillies have a whole promo reel for him. And they're putting him forth to be a representative at the All-Star game, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm looking at the story right now, and that's a pretty good little highlight.
How about that?
Yeah, that's a heck of a catch.
Yeah. Little backhander.
Yeah,
oh, that's the jump.
The jump.
Yeah.
The jumping one.
Yeah,
that's cool. I didn't know that they did that. That they had this.
No, I don't know what ballot he's on.
It's called the I don't know what it's called, John. I just had it anyway. To be It's called MLB.com/ABC ballot. So it's like the Grounds Crew All-Stars.
Okay.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They ought to be recognized, which, by the way, I saw Paul Skeens said the other day he'd like to cut grass professionally.
I tell you what, I find great therapy in cutting my grass.
Yeah.
I really do, because nobody else wants to do it. So I'm out there by myself.
Yeah.
I don't have to put up with the kids or
music
anything.
or whatever you want, if you want,
Yeah,
right? Nowadays, right? Yeah. And but would you like to do, first of all, you and I both know that those grounds crew guys especially at the open air Globe Life Park, I mean, they work around the clock.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And would you want to do it in Pittsburgh? Because I'm sure he was watching his own grounds crew do their thing.
Well, I mean, first of all, you got to have the budget.
Yeah.
You got to be able to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to water the thing, and then, put in the premium turf and be able to fertilize it and all that stuff, and, have giant mowers to take care of it. But if you're just talking about your little yard,
that's a different animal.
You got to have weed control, and you got to
little fertilizer,
overseed at spots, and you have the trees that cause the bare spots below it. So there's a lot that goes on.
I'll tell you what would drive me crazy about being a grounds crew member. And I watched the other day
the Gophers.
Last game, gopher. I smell gopher. I watched the last game. At the last game I was at, I watched the grounds crew do the base lines and the batter's box, and I thought, those poor bastards do that every game. I mean, it's so meticulous. And if you make one little mistake, the line ain't straight, and then you've got the Snickers commercial, like great stuff. Who's the chefs, Right, moogly, So, man, that would be hard. And tedious to me and boring. But anyway, that's we divert. That's we go. Let's get to Tony Tuesday. We're running out of time here. And this we've been actually, I say we. Tony has gotten to his Tony Tuesdays a little late a lot of the days, but he got this one out early today, and I really do believe, like literally, this one he made sure everybody on the team saw. He said, "Keep running your race." Oh, look at there, Ryan got it. Look at him. Keep running your race, no matter the obstacles, setbacks, or disappointments. Don't get knocked off course. Keep moving towards what you want, and you will reach your promised land. #win your day. #Tony Tuesdays. Does that not, Jeff, sound exactly like something our fans whose stomachs hurt and so forth can't catch a break, right? And some of them got in late, but is that not something they need to hear? That not something these Rangers players, Bruce Bochy, needs to hear right now?
Yeah, and they're wise words. You see, Marcus Semien has stuck to his routine, and it's paying off. And keep believing and keep going out and playing, I guess, is basically what that. It is a message to the fans, but also to the players.
Yeah,
I mean, and
I think so too.
And hopefully Tony will pass that along if players come in, down in the dumps. Say, hey, go check my Twitter account. All right,
read this. And of course, some of that started back in the Clint Hurdle days.
Yeah,
and Clint would send guys stuff like that every day when he was the hitting coach, just to get everybody motivated for the day. Finally, the Rangers have announced that they're donating $1 million. They announced this just after our show yesterday, but $1 million donation to the flood ravaged areas down there in down by Kerrville and Kerr County, and I think there's several counties impacted, and they'll donate the money, and the officials will use it as they see fit. But really nice gesture on the part of the team. I saw the first day after it happened that all the local teams, had a post in social media about, oh my gosh, our hearts go out. And then I'm like, okay, how about and they did. Yeah. Everybody's come through. But I'll say this, these the Rangers and the Astros, I want to give a lot of credit to, because the Texans and the Cowboys combined to give 1.5. the Spurs, the Rockets, and the Mavs, plus the NBA PA combined to give 2. Each, the Astros and the Rangers gave $1 million each. So
Yeah,
very
that's
generous.
good. A lot of Texas ownership in those groups.
True.
And good people.
Yep.
Obviously, they can spare the dimes, and
They can.
and
those people need it.
maybe they'll be doing more privately.
Sure.
Some people on the Twitter were giving the owners, the franchise is worth $3 billion. This doesn't account for individual donations. This is just from the club itself.
Yeah. So anyway, that's going to do it for us today. Don't forget, we're not going to be here tomorrow, but we're back with a post-game show Thursday night after the game. Doesn't matter what time it ends. We'll be there giving you a post-game show after the series ends in the Anaheim, and then a rare Saturday post-game show. But we thought the Astros series was so big we would do one Saturday and Sunday. We'll see you after 3 of the 4 or 5 next games that the Rangers play, doing post-game on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.